We're still here with Irina. She is dangling recipes above our heads like it's candy and then pulling it back because we're not paying money. All right, team, we're back. Here we are. And I'm going to throw some left field questions in that we didn't even get ready. This first one's mine. Then we'll jump back into some of the other things. But one of the things I wrote down is how do both of you know that, okay, so this is a dating question. Context, when I first met these two on our first level 2 improv class through Easy Laughs, shout out here in Amsterdam, we all went out for drinks. You know, I don't really know these people, but they all look really fun. And we sit down and we instantly start talking about Tinder and Bumble and the world of online dating in Amsterdam and how the guys here suck or something.
And thank you, by the way.
But not all of them, because Joey was there and he's like, hey, I'm Dutch. And I was like, I take no part in this discussion. Anyway, so how do both of you know in the dating world that you've found a winner? Whatever that means to you.
Oh my God, that I found a winner.
Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't be single if that was the case.
Well, technically, you're in a relationship right now. But like, okay, here's the context to my question, the way I'm thinking about it. Coming from the Christian lens, there's a lot of character input from our worldview. How the Bible talks about the type of person you want to be, how you treat people. Actually, honestly, I mean, a lot of like even just assertiveness. Whoa, did I freeze?
You froze, but we can hear you.
But we can't hear you.
Wow, YouTube's gonna enjoy that little picture of me. Oh, deep in thought.
I've seen worse.
What's on the right side of me? Okay, so, oh, that's so distracting. There's a lot of input on what type of person you should be and what type of person you should be with. Somebody who's selfless, somebody who's got a plan for the future, and especially within religion, it's like you're on the same page. And so then I'm curious from like a non-Christian standpoint, how do you know when you have a winner? So there's somebody you know that you're attracted to, and that can be like, I don't know, sexual attraction, physical attraction, or you like their personality. But then what is that next step of knowing you've got a winner where it's like, I could see myself with this person for a lifetime, hypothetically?
Oh man, I honestly, the first thing that pops in my mind is that most of it is the same, like you said. So until like if someone's religious or not, we don't have to 100% be on the same page. I mean, for most things, probably, but I think the best relationships are formed from, oh, hey, I'm a gamer and you like books and going out, and somehow we can make this work. I think the moment you can make the differences work is the moment you find a winner, so to speak. At least I think that for me is what works best.
So it's once you've found somebody that you spend enough time with, that you've worked through the differences.
Yeah, and not just differences on beliefs, but hobbies, politics. You don't have to. The moment you don't.
Dude, what the heck?
What happened?
No.
Oh.
What's up with that recording today?
Oh no, everything's crashing. That's great.
So are you still there?
I'm still
Okay,
here.
Joey, keep talking. I will just.
But can you not turn on your video?
I don't even know what happened that it disconnected.
There was a little sound like something got unplugged or something.
Well,
I'm just gonna push start video. So
mine says it says failed to start video camera. Please select another video camera in settings.
Oh, great.
Oh.
But
Nice.
I'm just gonna keep talking.
Please, yeah, just keep going.
We're not even gonna edit this out. It's gonna be perfect.
Oh, good. Now you
Okay,
can
we
see.
see candles.
Now you can see my
a
little.
pine cone.
Yeah.
There's my hammock.
Cactus.
My little cactuses.
Okay.
YouTube's gonna love this.
Yeah.
This is the front part of our house. Okay, I'm gonna keep
It's
on.
so beautiful.
Yikes! It's not what I wanted.
But yeah, but a good example is actually my good friend, who you've heard me talk about a lot, you two specifically. And she and her boyfriend are complete opposites. Like he's a full-on nerd. But at the same time, he's also really into working out. Both like going to parties, but he has Dungeon and Dragons nights, for example. And I'm not even sure if that's a game they play, but he's such a big nerd, and she's the complete opposite of that. She's like, I'm a party girl. I go out. I like my going out with my friends, drinking and partying. Now that she's becoming a little bit older, I'm saying that just to fuck with her if she's listening to this. Um, she's calming down a little bit, but they work through those differences, and I think that is what makes a winner. The moment you can be like, "Hey, we're both completely different, but we're also together, and it works."
Yeah, I think for me it has to do a lot with what are the what are those core differences that you cannot work through. Because there are, okay, if when it comes to hobbies, as long as you know you are fine with having your group of friends with you whom you can share those hobbies and spend time with, it's okay. I don't agree with being fully different because you still need to have common activities. Otherwise, as a couple, you're gonna grow apart very quickly and you won't be spending as much time together. But then when it comes to core things in who you are and your personality and what you want for your life, this is how you can tell if you see yourself being with someone. So I know in my case, for example, I don't want to get married and I don't want to have kids. And this is something that I bring up very early, probably in the first date, because otherwise it's a waste of time. If somebody really wants to have a big family or not even a big family, but just one kid, that's already a deal breaker. And then it also has to do with the personality. So if I am someone who has the tendency of putting other people's feelings and needs in front of mine, being with someone who is very selfish, it's not going to work because that person is going to take advantage of me. I also need to find what are those qualities that are going to help us individually and as a couple to make each other stronger and not destroy each other.
Yeah, fully agree.
Irina, so you don't want to get married, but is it the hope to find somebody that is in some realm of the soulmate life partner, like someone that you spend hypothetically the rest of your life with? Or is it like partners for a season?
No, I don't have a problem with having a committed long-term relationship. I'm definitely for monogamy, for example. So it's not like I want to sleep around or something like that. It's just that I think that marriage is more of a transaction, a business is something that is needed. So for example, if I was with a partner for a long time and maybe we want to move to another country, and because let's say I get a job or he gets a job, the other person doesn't, then in order to get a visa and so on, just for paperwork, marriage would make sense. But I believe that the commitment has to come from your integrity as a person, from love that you have towards a person, rather than because a piece of paper is forcing you.
That's a good thought. Yeah, that's a really good thought. Yeah, I think for me, just thinking about marriage, marriage is about the long-term safety of a relationship for me. And it's something that ensures that. I think marriage, is about commitment. It's like in the vows that you make, till death do us apart kind of thing. That on the front end, you're saying, I am committing myself to you no matter what happens in life. You've got, it's really beautiful language, but sickness and in health and and especially just the changes that somebody goes through in life. you know, the Brianna that I married when I was 25 is going to be a very different person from the Brianna when she's in her 30s and her 40s. You know, we're about to have a kid, and so we just experienced all sorts of changes. But the marriage, kind of from the get-go, says we're sticking this out no matter what happens. And I think it's helpful to have that ceremony on the front end, where you've got witnesses, you've got people there that are like, hey, we're for this couple, we're going to help you in your marriage, we're going to be there for you. You've got it's a religious ceremony, so coming from my standpoint, we're appealing to a higher authority than just kind of like what you said, Irina. Like, if it is just for the benefits, for the, I don't know, the healthcare, you know, like whatever, my taxes.
Yeah.
So that's under the government, but then from a religious standpoint, it's like we're appealing to a higher authority within this marriage that we're going to stick to what we've said here. But then ultimately, when that commitment's in place, I think Joey and I think we talked about like one night stands with that episode with Douglas, but like one night stands are the epitome of no commitment. It's like all performance, it's all sexually oriented. And then long-term monogamy is where that safety is like ensured, so that those two people can know that this person's not going to abandon me no matter what happens, no matter what changes and that kind of thing. But it seems like you guys are not necessarily against that. You're for that, but you just don't think you need the institution. Joe, I don't want to put words in your
Yeah.
mouth.
Oh no, but listen, the thing with marriage is, I am on the side of Irina with this. I do not see marriage as a necessity, but all my friends are like, "Come on, man, you're gonna get married. Just give up. It's gonna happen."
And I think, I mean, what you said is it's really beautiful, and it's the way that it should be. But unfortunately, that's not what happens in real life for a lot of couples.
Right. Even
So,
Christian couples.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You can be married, the government, whatever, and you can still cheat. You can still decide to open up the marriage because you're not satisfied. You can still treat your wife or your husband like crap.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really ensure any of those things. Divorced all the time, or they stay in an unhappy marriage, going behind each other's back, or just like suffering and suffering in silence or whatever. So it's not math. It's not like because we're married now this is really going to happen. I mean, yeah, that would be the utopia, but it's not. If it really was the case, I would be up for marriage. But because,
it was like a
the commitment can be there with or without the marriage, then
I just listened to a really great podcast actually last week on my great bike ride home from improv in the middle of the night. And it actually had the same topic on marriage. And the problem with most marriages is that the relationship changes the moment you get married. It was a specific topic at the moment about a guy who got married to his then girlfriend. And all of a sudden she was like, hey, it's 6 at night, or it's 6 around dinner time. You have to be home. You can't go to the bar with the boys, even though before that it was not a problem. So after marriage, she got a certain thing in her head that, oh, everything has to be different because married people do these kind of things instead of what you normally do. So to make a marriage work, you should actually not make those gigantic changes in your normal everyday life, at least not in the beginning.
Which is totally what Irina is talking about too. Like, it can be so hard because somebody can flip. Often it's it can be both parties, but I've heard, just horror stories of the guy who's totally charming and totally, does all these dating and cute things, and he's really patient, whatever. And then he locks her in with marriage. It's like she's committed now. And often, like, to be honest, this can happen from Christian marriages. And and it's just like a 180, and he can become abusive, he can become controlling, jealous. Yeah, and it's super scary. It's like, oh my gosh. And in those moments, you don't want divorce to be off the table because you want her to be able to protect herself if this is a bad marriage.
And not only that, the fact that you actually need to get divorced makes it more difficult. That is the reason also why I don't support marriage. I don't want marriage for myself. Is because if I stay in a relationship, it's because I really love the person and I want to be in that relationship and I want to fight for it and I want to do everything to keep the relationship alive and going well. But not because I am forced by a paper or because I have a very difficult situation where I don't want to go through all the paperwork of a divorce, or I don't want to, maybe there's a prenup or something. I mean, there's so much technicalities around it that make it very difficult. So for example, a woman that is suffering from abuse, domestic abuse,
Mm-hmm.
not just leave like that, well, if you're not married, it makes it easier.
For sure. Although on the flip side, you can also throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing. What a horrible phrase. But you can, have you guys heard that phrase, that English phrase?
No, never.
Yeah, it's horrible. But basically the thought behind that phrase is I don't even know the context of this, but it's the idea of throwing the good out with the bad. So of course you're right, that there is bad examples of this being like a stifling situation that it's hard to get out of. But also, if divorce is too easy, then people, based on just like emotions, will jump out of something that they could have worked through. And actually, I think honestly, Joey, it's in that book that you let me borrow, The Subtle Art of Not Getting a Feck, as the Irish say. It talks about some things you will not enjoy to the fullest degree until 5 years in, 10 years in. Mm-hmm. He talks about like a career, but he also talks about a relationship, that you won't get to the full joy of being with that person unless you've gone through, whatever it might be. There's no actual time limit, but it's the idea that gratification gets better at the more time and effort you put into something.
But that's also my point, is if I stay in a relationship without the paper that is forcing me to stay in that relationship, is because I love the person and I am committed. So that's precisely my point. It's like, I want to make that work because it comes from the heart, not from a piece of paper.
Yes.
So I see it more from that side. And I also want the person that is with me to fight for the relationship and to fight to be with me because he wants it, not because he's obliged by a paper, because he's too lazy to get a divorce or something.
For sure.
So I don't see it as, something that, we don't get along. Like, he always drinks the milk and then puts the empty bottle back in the fridge or something like that. So we're breaking up. No, I'm talking about, like, I had a boyfriend for 5 years. We lived together for 4. We went to couples therapy for 6 months and everything. Or we ended up breaking up. So we definitely fought for that relationship. We tried our best, but in the end, it was not working out anymore. And it also helps you to make the decision of part ways before you end up.
Yeah. And then I think the counter to that as well is sometimes within a relationship, you need big momentous events to really help filter out if these two people should be together. So for example, one that on a more secular side of things would be moving in together. That's kind of like the filtering process of like, will we work? Are we compatible? Can we share a life? But Christians don't usually go that route. So things for Christians are more like, can we be long distance? Long distance is a great filtering process. Is the relationship still growing in how we feel about each other and how we interact, even with us not being right in the same place? So Brianna and I had to go through a whole year of long distance, which was like really good for us. But then also planning a wedding. There's something about a wedding that you're like putting, obviously you're putting your relationship on display. And and there's a whole bunch of planning, and depending on what kind of wedding you have, there can be a whole lot more planning than you anticipated. But there's something about the momentousness of that moment. It brings up a whole bunch of conflict. It brings up a whole bunch of stress, and it's necessary, in my mind, so that that couple experiences those things and says, yeah, I still want you. I still wanted this. Even though it's hard, and even though I've seen you at your worst, it's like you're kicking up the dust kind of thing. And obviously that's not all that marriages are. It's just one of the nice byproducts of it. And so for me, how do you know if you've got a winner? It's kind of similar to what Joey said, but it's, have you seen this person in all of their different moments? When they're happy, when they're sad, when they're frustrated, when they're super angry? Have you guys had conflict? And have you seen enough glimpses of who they are to know how they might change in the future, to know that you want to be committed to them for the long haul? And yeah, and I don't actually even think you need to move in with somebody to actually have all those experiences. But yeah, there's something about early on in the relationship, because I think without marriage or other things, you're kind of just skating by, and there's nothing really to test it until it just kind of, what the heck is the word? Like fizzles out. You fall out of love. That's what often happens. People are like, well, yeah, just we had a good run and now we're not in love anymore. But I think it's because they didn't really have something in the beginning really making them examine things, is maybe what I'm thinking. And the commitment of marriage is that examination.
That's a very interesting thought. I think it really depends on where you stand in life. Like for Irina, there will be other things that will be challenging. In my mind, I definitely want to have kids. So even if I don't get married, I think raising a child together, eventually moving in together, going on your first vacation together, and planning that is also a kind of challenge. And I make it as a joke, but a lot of couples actually break up because of the planning of a vacation, because you will find out what kind of person you have with you if you're stuck in a tent for 3 weeks together. Like, am I gonna murder this person, or are we going to be happy forever? But Irina, I want to ask you a question, because I asked this in one of the first episodes. So could you be together with someone that has a religion like Christianity, or maybe another religion? Could you date or be together with that person?
Probably not.
Straight answer.
Yeah.
How come?
Because I don't really believe in religions. I don't, people are free to believe in whatever they want, but for me, religions are very restrictive, and it's a way to manipulate the masses. So
hey,
that.
Karl Marx.
Sorry?
Wait, Karl Marx. Isn't he the one that quoted that? Oppression to the masses.
Yeah, could be. I don't
Anyway,
know.
keep going.
That's my own way of thinking, but yeah, probably you're right. But yeah, it's just like very, very restrictive, and all these rules and all these rituals that you're supposed to do every time and so on, and restrictions and like what you eat, and so there are some religions that I like less than others. I'm not gonna go into which ones, but especially being a woman. But yeah, I definitely try to avoid dating religious people, and I actually have not dated religious people. And I want to stay that way. But you never know, never say never, right? So
never say never.
I'll control that.